Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Random Shit, Random Guy. As always, I'm your host, Phil, and this week we have a ton to talk about. This past weekend, you guys know it, I've been blasting it for weeks. Wrestlepalooza All Out. We're going to talk about that. We also have the PWI 500 to talk about and who's on the list, who's at number one. You can tell by the thumbnail who's at the top. We also are going to talk AEW women's tag titles, which were announced last night. We have Mania talk tonight. So everybody here, just hop into the chat as you come in, say hello, and we will get started. First off, I want to ask everybody, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, so that we can keep this show going. We're going to start out with AEW All Out this past weekend. Saturday was insane. 9 hours of wrestling, if you sit through it all. From the start of the pre-show to the end of the main event on Wrestlepalooza, 9 hours of wrestling. Whew, it was intense. I'm not going to lie. I watched all of All Out, and then I took a break, and then I waited until Wrestlepalooza was over, and then I watched it. So I didn't watch it live. I was going to, but by the time AEW was over, Wrestlepalooza was over an hour in. I knew that if I just waited, I could fast forward through commercials, because if there's one thing WWE does is an hour's worth of commercial in a 4-hour pay-per-view. Wanted to knock that out right at the beginning. So I skipped past that, and like I said, I wanted to watch it live. Luckily, I stayed off social media, so I had no clue what was going to happen other than one thing, which was the first match. It got spoiled before I could even continue to think about it, because I was posting stuff about AEW and saw the Cena match. So we're going to go through. I'm going to give out my grades for this event and talk about some other grades that other people had. Not going to go through every match. It would take forever, and I don't want to. So I'm going to talk about some of the highlights for me, and I'm going to start with AEW All Out. My favorite, it's not my favorite match. It's probably my second favorite match of the show. Kicked off the show with Adam Copeland and Christian Cage against FTR. That match was perfect for Toronto. That crowd was into it. You had the no hose chant for Stokely. It was just, they weren't loud on camera, but what you saw secondary, they were loud. They were into it. I loved it. It was a back and forth match where, Cope was pretty much getting his ass kicked. He comes back. They win the match. But what I really want to talk about is after the match. Once Adam Copeland gets the pin and they win the match, all hell goes loose. But right before that, we had the return of one Beth Phoenix, or Beth Copeland now. Beth's been out of wrestling for over a year now. I want to say maybe a year and a half. She was doing commentary on NXT. That stopped, and then Adam went to AEW. She did the You Think You Know Him, and then disappeared until that music hit. It was crazy, because normally when music hits in a pay-per-view, you're like, oh shit, that's so-and-so. I know that music. No one knew that music when Beth's music hit. And then it just said Beth. And I lost my shit, because I knew, holy shit, Beth Phoenix is here. This could be great for the women's division. That's a veteran that they have not had of that caliber. Now, they have had big names. They had Saraya come in. Mercedes is still there. But Beth Phoenix is an OG women's legend. And to have Beth Phoenix on your roster could be a game changer. Now, I don't know if this is a one-off. They did talk about her a lot last night on Dynamite, so I don't know if she's here to stay, if she's going to go back. Of course, I'm just a fan like the rest of you. I don't know what's going to happen with her, but I do hope to God she sticks around. especially because of the way that match ended. When she comes out, she carries Stokely off. The crowd starts going crazy. No hose, no hose. FTR gets pinned, and then they attack Adam Copeland, and they bam, one after another, attack. And then Adam gets handcuffed to the ropes, at which point Beth Phoenix comes, kisses him, knowing she's going to get fucking hurt, and she starts beating the shit out of FTR, and FTR pile drives her. It was insane. Like, you don't see that. You definitely would never see that on WWE television. And it kind of sucks because, like, during the match we're going to talk about later, I would have loved to have saw some intergender action. We'll talk about it when it gets there. But the fact that they basically put her out, then Adam finally gets loose, and then you see this week on Dynamite that he's like, I'm going home to take care of my family. And then Christian's like, I don't have a family. Oh, that was great. And he turns around and shakes his hand and he said, yeah, you do. This tells me that, yeah, Adam Copeland's going to disappear for a little bit. But I think Adam Copeland will make a return at a pay-per-view to help out Christian when it comes time for that Nick Wayne match. I don't know how much time's left. I think they said like a year and a half, but then he also has injury time that would get added to Copeland's schedule. So we should have Adam Copeland around for a while. I hope to God we have Beth stick around with him and we get some fun stories, especially the fact that it got Willow Nightingale involved this week. I'm just excited to see where we're going with this story following All Out. I'm going to transition to what was my favorite match on the card. My two favorite wrestlers in the company, my favorite babyface, my favorite heel. MJF versus Mark Briscoe, tables and tacks match. The tables and tacks match was one for the fucking ages. I knew when that is 100% true. Talking Vols, the FTR Cup Christian was money. Those guys started off that pay-per-view hot as shit. It was great. I loved it. Almost as much as I loved the tables and tacks match. The tables and tacks match was great. It was you saw when I saw MJF walk out in white, I was like, this is going to be a bloodbath. And I was kind of afraid that it would get worse than it was. But when Mark Briscoe walked out there and grabbed those buckets of tacks and poured them everywhere, that ring was covered. It looked like the floor of a strip club with all that glitter. But instead of glitter, it was all fucking tacks. Outside the ring, you had tables. And I was like, oh, please don't start getting in chairs. And what I was afraid was going to happen when I saw the white was I thought we were going to get glass. And those two guys, I didn't know what to think with MJF, honestly, in a hardcore match. And the tacks were everywhere to the point where the referee come out with the knee pads, elbow pads, protective glasses. The bottom of Mark Briscoe's shoe was solid silver. It was insane that their boots, I can't imagine having any traction outside the ring on those mats to be able to walk, let alone anything else. Like, that is insane. That they were able to even pull that shit off. Like, the tables wasn't used as much as I thought they would. I really thought they were going to go through the announcer's desk, but Mark Briscoe getting that win, that was what I wanted. That was the one thing I was like, the one prediction I made last week that I wanted to come true was Mark Briscoe to get a win and to get some momentum. And that momentum continued into this week when Mark Briscoe got the win with the conglomeration over the Don Callis family. That was This is what I want out of Mark Briscoe. I want a run, man. He don't have to win a title. If he does, cool. I don't see it happening. Honestly, I think he's that mid-card guy, upper mid-card guy who he's entertaining as shit. His promos are fun. You don't get that a lot from guys on the roster right now. Like, there's no one on that roster like Mark Briscoe, and there's no one on that roster like MJF. MJF, from just kicking off, trying to get that to go quick, throwing the tax in Mark's mouth. The one thing I was worried about the whole time I was watching this tax match was what happens if one goes out and hits a fan in the eye? Because we've all saw tax in matches. We ain't seen tax like that. There's never been that many tax in a... Now, I'm sure there is in death matches. I'm sure there are in GCW. Hell, you go to GCW, you got to wear your own protective glasses, hoping you don't get glass in your eye. But the fact that AEW put that many tacks out, it was insane. I loved it. Like I said, that was my favorite match on the card. But that was my favorite tag team's FTR. So of course I was gonna love Coben Christian versus FTR. My favorite heel is MJF. My favorite babyface right now is Mark Briscoe. That card was made for me. Another match I wanted to highlight: Chris Statlander becoming the AEW Women's Champion. Now, last week I talked about, oh yeah, she'll be ready sometime. I think she should carry the title. I said all that, but I said Toni Storm will win. If I had bet money on any match on that card, it was going to be Toni Storm retains. It would not have been Toni Storm takes the pin from Chris Statlander. I went insane when I saw that. Like, I was like, it was the one thing of the night that I did not expect to happen, and it happened. And I'm excited for it. Like, Chris is always fun. If you guys are following my Facebook page, you might have saw a couple weeks ago I posted a short, not Facebook, on my Instagram. I posted a short that it was Darby Allin. It was Darby Allin doing a backflip onto a skateboard from a House Rules show in Mississippi. I think it was 2 years ago at this point. It's been a while. Agreed. That title shock was, it was great. Like, it was the one thing, like, you never see. If there's one thing about wrestling right now as a fan, prediction, like, they're very predictable shows. But right now, that was the shock of the night, man. That title change was, whew. But what I was trying to say is, like, how fun Chris Statlander is. It was Chris Statlander, Orange Cassidy, and Darby Allin in the ring. And it's like a 3-minute thing. But she was out there cheering on Darby, doing all this stuff. It was fun. And the storyline going in was that she was going to turn heel. And is she going to side with Wheeler Yuta and the Death Riders? And she didn't, thank God. She stuck it out. Like, last night on Dynamite, you had, at the end of the show, the Death Riders circling Chris Statlander. You have Wheeler Yuta raise her hand. The crowd starts booing the shit out of her. Harley Cameron comes into the ring, and the one thing I'm thinking right now is we're getting a Chris Statlander heel turn right here on television. She's going to take out Harley. Instead, she takes out Wheeler, flips off Moxley, and hits the fucking bricks, dragging Harley behind her. Like, this has not been predictable, and that is great. Not being predictable to me is the highlight of this show. It All Out got great reviews on my side. I give All Out an A-. If there was one match on the card I could have done without, was the Eddie Kingston Big Bill match. Now, you started off that show so high, and then Eddie Kingston comes out and the crowd goes apeshit. I went crazy. But in the back of my head, when he made that walk, I was like, how rusty is Eddie Kingston? And he was rustier than a nail at the bottom of the ocean. They needed to have brought him back prior and let him have some matches. That's my one complaint about not having these house shows, is guys don't get the reps in. When you come in off a 16-month sitting at home on the couch, you need those reps. You need to get your body moving, get used to the crowd. Like, it doesn't matter if he was running the ropes at somebody's school. It's not the same as being on television. So not having that action prior to, it's like last week I was talking about with Riho. I was like, man, I hope to God Riho and Mercedes puts on a good match. Riho's first match back off television wasn't great, and then she had one against one of the Renegade Twins the next week. And then at the pay-per-view, Riho was back. Now, is she my favorite? No. Did she put on a great match? She did. And she got some action in, and that was great because she got to put in the work. You got to put in the work if you're going to put on a good performance, and not being able to have those house shows or get those reps on television, just that hurt the Eddie Kingston Big Bill match. So that was what I didn't like about the AEW show. I liked everything else, but I'm not going to, like I said, I don't want to go through the entire card. There was too many matches. Those were just some of the highlights I wanted to talk about. Now let's talk about Wrestlepalooza. Wrestlepalooza got a kickoff on ESPN, whatever the fuck it's called. I think it's Unlimited. And I watched it with a VPN. I hope you did too, so that you could just watch it on Netflix like everybody else in the world and not have to pay the extra $30. I'm not plugging no VPNs because they ain't paying me. But that's how I did it. I watched it on VPN, International, Netflix, bam. Thank you, ma'am. So that card kicked off the complete opposite of the AEW card. The AEW card got you excited for the rest of the night. I feel like WWE was like, hey, let's shock them. But you don't want a shocker between Brock Lesnar and John Cena. That was stupid. You're on a retirement tour. The man has 5 appearances left. 5. And you're going to use one of them to get him squashed for the last time by Brock Lesnar? Who does that help? The fans didn't want it. You're not building up Brock Lesnar to be the next big thing. He's already been the next big thing. John Cena he didn't need that win. We didn't need that match. But we definitely didn't need to see John Cena get squashed in his final appearance with Brock Lesnar. God, I hope so. I hope that's the last time we ever see those two in the ring together. They could have had such a great match. And it was fun. What's crazy is, like, during the Copeland match, I forgot to talk about that. Adam hit all the "you can't see me," the AA, the old move that he used to transition into the 5-knuckle shuffle. You had fans at AEW chanting John Cena's name. And then the WWE PLE kicks off, and you're like, it was basically a fuck you, John Cena. And it was like, I did not expect a squash like that, man. Like, John, especially when the week before John was on television, he's like, can I win? I don't know. Is he bigger than me? Blah, blah, blah. You set it up to where John Cena was going to get that win. And instead, you fucked John Cena. And that's been the theme of this return. It's like, how can we piss off the fans more and more? Now, before, that heel turn could have been great if The Rock didn't split. And then Travis Scott split. And then it was like, oh, well, he's saying the same thing every week. Let's turn him back to babyface. And then we have the SummerSlam match where Cody defeats him, gets the title off of him. And then you go straight into Brock Lesnar. Why? Who is that helping? No one. No one is who it's helping, and it's pissing people off. It pissed off ESPN. ESPN gave the show a C. They gave this match a C-. I think it was a C-. It might have been a C+. Either way, ESPN, the people who needs to make money off of them, gave this match the worst rated match on the show. Why would you do that? Sometimes I really question Hunter's. I question Hunter a lot lately. with his booking, but definitely with the booking of John Cena. If there's one thing he's fucked up, it's the booking of John Cena. Let's talk about 2 highlights of that show. Stephanie Valkyrie becomes the first South American-born female women's champion in the WWE. Now, she already won in NXT over Io Sky. Now, this was something I wanted to see. I think fans wanted to see. This was a great match. Io Sky is the best female wrestler, possibly one of the best wrestlers in the WWE right now, because she puts in the work. And if there's one person who can also do that, it's Stephanie Valkyrie. It has been insane. It's been the road to see Stephanie Valkyrie get to the point where she's won the title it's been a special one, man. Like, she first got noticed on the AEW versus New Japan Forbidden Door card. She comes in, has a great match, deuces out after that. AEW put her on the map. She runs the NXT. NXT runs with it. They don't change the gimmick. They don't change the look. They don't change anything. They teach her English. That's the one thing they did. They taught her English. As she likes to say, wrestling is her first language, and she proved it this past weekend at Wrestlepalooza. And she proves it every time she steps in the ring. So that was one highlight of the show for me. But the best match of the show was the one that everybody wanted to see, what should have been the main event. And that's the return of AJ Lee to the ring with her husband CM Punk versus Becky Rollins versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Now, I can tell, again, AJ was rusty, but I also feel like she's been down to the Performance Center and got some work in. The match, the fans are dying to see it start off with AJ and Becky, and that tag instantly goes to Punk and Rollins. And anytime you get Punk and Rollins in the ring, you're going to have a great match. I would love to see that be a Mania match someday. I think the next Mania match that we're going to see from Punk is most likely going to be against Cody, but I would love to see another Mania match, just Rollins versus Punk. I mean, you can't do that enough times. It's a great program that you keep working there. And then you've got AJ and Becky. That's on Collision course, probably. It might be at Crown Jewel. I'm still saying Survivor Series. You build that up, especially since AJ wasn't on television this week. I think you got 2 more weeks till the pay-per-view. Let it breathe. You don't have to run these programs right back. You can let them breathe. It's not going to hurt one bit. So I would love to see AJ Lee and do anything up against anybody, but the one I do want is her against Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental title. 1, she's never held the Intercontinental title. 2, those two put on a performance this past weekend. Her ending that match in that octopus submission, whatever the hell she calls that thing, I can't even remember, was insane. It was great. I loved everything about it. It was the best thing of Wrestlepalooza for me, to be honest with you. But Wrestlepalooza as a whole, it was 5 matches. I talked about 3 of them. You also had the Usos lose to The Vision, and you had Cody defeat Drew. I do not think Cody should have been the main event of that card. It's like they went backwards, and it was like, oh, well, we think we're going to draw more fans, so let's put the Brock and... I think if they had ended the card with Brock versus John, you might have had a better response, but you soured the crowd from the first match onward, that it's like, well, no, we're not going to stick around with you. We're not going to do... It made people not care when you basically said, we don't care from the start. But speaking of Cody, the PWI 500 is out. For those of you, everybody should know by now, but the Pro Wrestling Illustrated puts out the top 500 wrestlers each year. And Number one on the list is once again Mr. Cody Rhodes for the second year in a row. Now, I want to talk about what qualifies you to make the PWI 500. This is how they determine who's in it, and then what number. In this order. First, wins and loss record. Wins and losses matter when it comes to the PW 500. Championships won. Quality of competition throughout the year. Major feuds participated in said year. What promotion you did this in. And at the bottom of the list is your ability. Let that sink in. Ability is the last thing they are worried about on the PWI 500. Now, it's great for independent wrestlers. I've got people that I've been watching in Alabama and New South on the list. I've got people that I watch on through Instagram on the list. That is a great thing. That's a great accomplishment for these independent wrestlers. And it's a great selling point for the promotions. I don't know about this top 10, and here's who's in it. Number 1, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes had a great year, but he lost the title in the last year and regained it against John Cena. Now, I don't know when their year ends and starts. With the PWI coming out right now, I would say it ended around SummerSlam. So you ended with a highlight. So number 1 on the list, they have Cody Rhodes. Number 2, Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley spent most of the last year as your AEW champion with the Death Riders. He was out there every week working. Was he the most entertaining during that? No. Was he putting on great matches? Yes. Number 3, Gunther. Gunther carried the men's heavyweight title for a good chunk of last year before he lost it to Jey Uso at Wrestlemania. And then just continued to soar even after losing the title. Number 4 on the list, Adam Hangman Page. Hangman put on a performance this year which ended his, not the year, but what would have probably ended around the time that the PWI 500 ended, with him winning the AEW title. Not only did he win the title, he won the Owen Hart tournament. He won, his year was so good. And I keep going back to the moment where it changed, in my opinion, which was in Cincinnati on Collision against, the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels. I think that is what cemented this run from that point on. When he beat Will Ospreay, that put him at the top of this list. Number 5, Hiroku Goto. I'm going to be honest, I don't know nothing about Hiroku Goto, so I can't judge that. I know he held the New Japan title. I'm not the biggest New Japan fan. The smacking for no reason shit is one of the things that I can't get on board with, but I try to watch it, especially leading up to the big AEW shows. But when it comes to a weekly watching of New Japan, I'm not your guy. So number 5 on the list, I can't really say a lot. Number 6, Jey Uso. Jey Uso won the title at WrestleMania. He won Royal Rumble. He had a great fucking year. Swerve Strickland held the title at one point, I believe, in the last year. Put on matches against Hangman Adam Page with that feud. Again, the feuds. Their feud alone made him a top 10 guy. Number 8, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins did miss some time due to the fake injury, but he won the title back. And he had the title before Gunther. So therefore, Seth Rollins, number 8 on the list. Great. Mystico, holy shit, talk about a guy who's had a resurgence of a career. This past year has been amazing for him. What might have been the match of the week last week with Mystico and MJF at CMLL 92. Holy shit. The work he's done in Ring of Honor, the work he's done at AEW, CMLL. Mystico has to go from being let go from the WWE to going back to CMLL. He has become the number one luchador in the world, and the 9th spot for him is amazing. And number 10, ability-wise, is the best guy on this top 10, Will Ospreay. Now, did he have... if he had a title, if he had won a world title on this, he would be in the top 5. Now, if I had to redo the top 5, I would still have Cody Rhodes as number 1. I would go Gunther number 2, Hangman Adam Page as 3, Will Ospreay 4, and Adam Page as 5. But this list really doesn't matter, like I said. If you are watching the channel, I posted a video earlier this week about Stephanie McMahon in the Hall of Fame and how that doesn't matter. The PWI really doesn't matter. It's a fan vote thing. It's up to us if we care. And like I said, all 10 of those guys worthy of the top 10. Where they're at on the list, at the end of the day, number 1's the only one that matters. I think Cody Rhodes had the better year of most of those. He was always in the ring, even after he didn't have the title. He didn't take a break until a couple weeks ago when his baby was born and he was shooting Street Fighter. Other than that, he was on television every week. He was active throughout the year. He had a great year. So the PWI 500 is out. Like I said, go check that out if that's something you're into. What I like the PWI 500 is for the best is checking out where are these indie wrestlers, where do they stand, have they rose, have they fallen. Like, it was exciting to me a couple years ago when I was following New South on the regular to see, Cabana Man Dan in the top 500. At one point, Derek Neal was in the top 500. Kenzie Page, top 500. So you had these guys that I was watching monthly in the top 500. And I was like, oh, that's fucking badass. So I'm curious to see where this next year, where the people I'm watching now, where are they going to be? Like, if Adam Priest is not signed somewhere in the next year, Adam Priest is the guy right now, in my opinion. He's been on AEW several times. That man needs signed. And I was there the night he won the Haas tournament, which is the biggest. It's 16 guys. It's the Southern 16 in New South Wrestling in Alabama. He won that fucking title that night. Went on to win the heavyweight title from New South. Now, you're like, oh, you're talking about a small independent. They are a small independent, but man, do they produce talent. Hell, I'm wearing the hoodie right now. And those guys put on a show. And I'm excited to see guys like I said, Adam Priest. I found him there. And then I saw him on Ric Flair's Last Match card. And then I saw him pop up on other big independents. And then Ring of Honor. And hell, he was there in Cincinnati that night that I was at Collision. And then as recent as back-to-back weeks against FTR leading into their feud with Cope and Christian. That man needs signed. Speaking of AEW, up next we're going to talk about the AEW Jazwares line of toys. As you guys can see behind me, huge AEW Jazwares fan. Behind me are some of my chases. I've got a signed Orange Cassidy. I have so many AEW figures. That line got me back into collecting hardcore. Is it going away? There's a lot of rumor. It broke out on Reddit last week that AEW and Jazwares were parting ways. They will not continue this partnership. But I'm curious to see if that will actually happen. And where will the figures go if they do? Like, I'm a huge toy guy. You guys have seen the evolution of what the set around me. over the last couple of weeks. You'll continue to see it grow as I get more settled in. I'm a huge AEW Jazwares fan. I have so much of their merchandise. I have the entranceway. I have, up till the point, I think, up till like 2 years ago, I had one of almost every guy. And then I kind of really slowed down because, one, they just started pumping them out. And then at a certain point in the last year, they started doing, they've done so many John Moxley figures. And I get it, he's your top guy. But how many John Moxleys do you need, especially when you haven't updated the head sculpt? So AEW and Jazwares have been, where's the merch last year? And then around, I want to say it was around San Diego Comic-Con this year, you saw an influx of AEW merchandise hit Ringside Collectibles. The problem with that is you don't see an influx of AEW merchandise hitting the shelves. If anything, you see a reduction of AEW figures on the shelves. I've saw several Walmarts where the tag is just gone. They don't carry them anymore. Or if they do carry them, they carry the exclusives. I've been to Targets where all they had was the Target exclusive pay-per-view line and not the regular Unmatched or Unrivaled. You definitely never see Supremes. And if you do, it's a Walmart exclusive. I remember when Supremes launched, it was such a big deal when the Cody Rhodes and Britt Baker come out. They were on such back order that you couldn't get them. And then they took it, what felt like a year before they put out another one, and then it went to Walmart. And then you put out the Lucha Bros, and then one went to Walmart and the other one didn't. The distribution between Jazwares and these toys have been a disaster. But the figure themselves have been amazing. I have hope that they're going to be around, but I don't. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And this week on the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, Matt Cardona reached out to Jeremy Padower, who is in charge of Jazwares, to ask about the AEW relationship with them. And he said, we're making figures in 2026. They have had the line for 5 years. As of right now, there's been no real talk about whether the line will die, whether it will continue. But it doesn't look good. Now, 2026, you're going to get a lot of figures. Think about those old Jax days when... Now, Jeremy Padower was one of the head guys at Jax at that time when they lost their license to Mattel. Think about how many WWE figures dropped. Hell, let's look at it in modern toys right now. McFarlane Toys is losing DC's license within the year. And they are pouring out those figures because they got to make the most money they can out of the molds they already have. They've cut steel on a lot of this stuff. They're going to put it out. Think of how many times in the last year AEW has had a figure release within weeks of the guy showing up on NXT. Ricky Starks becomes Ricky Saints, and then his Ricky Starks figure just then hits the shelf. A couple months ago, Mariah May turns to Blake Monroe. Guess what we just got on this? Not even on Walmart shelves yet. Just now got to ringside Mariah May. That has been the problem with the line. They're not fast enough on putting figures out. They're not fast enough on seeing the trends. They made what should have been one of the highest selling action figure sets with the Better Than You Baby, MJF, and Adam Cole. It come out 9 months after the Devil feud ended. That is a problem. That is a problem that has reared its head a lot for AEW and Jazwares. Now, I don't know if this is an AEW problem. I don't know if this is a Jazwares problem. Let's face it. At the end of the day, Jazwares does not make their money from AEW toys. So why should they put all their time into AEW toys? Their number one toy is the Squishmallow. The company that brings you AEW Blood and Guts is the same company that brings your daughter's Squishmallow figures. Think about it that way. They're also one of the top lines for Pokemon in America. They have Star Wars. Like, there's definitely smoke where there's fire. As of right now, on AEW and Ring of Honor figures are 50% off on the Jazwares Vault. You don't put figures like that on sale that you're planning on not doing a fire sale and trying to get rid of them and trying to end the relationship. Now, again, does AEW want to move on? Does Jazwares want to move on? If I'm a betting man, I'm saying Jazwares is leaving AEW and not the other way around. But I could be wrong. Now, AEW merchandise-wise is always behind. They had the opportunity to make the Mercedes puppet that Haley Cameron had. They never did that. They waited until Penta left, never made a pentagram mask, never made a... They never made Pentagon. They never made Ray Phoenix's mask. The only mask they actually made was holograms because Tony Khan came up with the idea, and that's why they sold the fucking mask. Think of how much money they could have made off of those masks prior to that. They just didn't do it. AEW merchandise-wise is always behind, to a point where when it started, the Bucks' wife was in charge of it. I think it was Matt Jackson's wife was in charge. It might have been Nick's, but it was one of them. Their wife was in charge of putting out the merchandise because when they started, everybody said they're just a t-shirt company. And they did great in the ring, and they sold a fuck ton of t-shirts. They signed the AEW store is ran through Pro Wrestling Tees, who covers wrestling t-shirts for everyone. But that is their specialty is t-shirts. They should not be in charge of your entire merchandise line. Now, they do work with they had a deal with Diamond Comics or Diamond Distribution, whatever that is. It's gone because Diamond went under. They do still make the micro brawlers. Whenever that's kind of that died down after COVID. They have Big Rubber Guys. That we don't know how that's going to go yet. The first line hasn't come out yet. There's something wrong with AEW merch, and I don't know what it is to fix it. But losing the Jazwares license is going to hurt. I don't know how much they're getting paid for those figures, and I don't know if Tony's just tired of waiting. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know where the AEW figure can go from Jazwares. Mattel's not getting it. Hasbro's not wasting their money on it. What other big company can make the figures and get them into stores? And what stores are going to pick up more AEW figures when they're taking them off the shelf? That's a problem for AEW that I'm looking forward. I don't know how the Jazwares relationship is going to end, but I do think it's going to end soon. Let's talk about something positive with AEW because I've been shitting on it for so long. Last night, they finally introduced the Women's World Tag Team Championships. This is one of the biggest needed things in AEW, and you're thinking AEW needs another championship belt like they need a hole in their head. And if this was the men's division, I would say, yeah, they don't need another belt. They need to lose belts. But they have so many active women on their roster that they just kind of out in limbo. I mean, think about it. When Tony Storm had the belt for, I think it was off and on for the last 2 years, between her and Mariah bouncing it back and forth, and then Mercedes is getting ready to break the TBS record that was held by, God, I can't even remember her name. But anyways, Mercedes is about to break the TBS record. There's only so much time on the television for women, but you can't build a contender without having them on the show. And one of the ways you can do that is through the tag team division. And they have so many possibility of tag teams that was already created before this. They've done a women's tournament in the past. Earlier in the company, they had a women's tag team tournament that was for nothing, but there was a tag team tournament. Hell, Brandy won it with Awesome Kong. That's how long ago that was. Think about it. Brandy Rhodes was an active wrestler the last time they had a significant AEW women's tag team thing. And for a while, it wasn't needed. But you have so many tag teams that have nothing to fight for. You have enough teams that you could do a 16-team tournament, run it over the next month, and end it at the end of the year and put the titles on somebody. That's how many tag titles. And this is the perfect time for women's tag team championship belts, because WWE doesn't give a shit about their women's tag team division, because they put it on people and then they vacate it, and then they put it on other people and then they don't defend it. The WWE women's tag team titles right now should be the highlight of the show, because they're being held by Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. And I thought when those two got the belt, finally, they're going to build this division. They're going to make it strong. They're going to make it, nope. Singles action, singles action, singles action. Never defended. I don't think AEW will do the same mistake WWE did. I think they have so many tag teams. I think, before Stat won the title, I would have said Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Megan Bain, and Penelope Ford. You've got Sky Blue and Hart. Like, there's so many that there's tag teams that can be made. You got Harley Cameron out there who can tag with anybody and make it funny or fun. You can bring in women's tag teams from think about the Hex. The Hex is one of the top women's tag teams on the independents. One time held the NWA women's tag team titles when that meant something. They're out there still. You could bring them in and have a huge division. Have fun with it. But we will see. We're in the first steps. And Tony said he had the belts made. He had the belts made, and they look just like the men's belts, but that's okay. But at first he was like, I can't have the women's tag team titles because we don't have enough women. Everybody got hurt. And then now they've got an influx of women. You have women who's not been on television. Britt Baker has not been on television in over a year. You were in Pittsburgh last night and you didn't bring her back. Something tells me they're probably not going to bring her back, to be honest. But you're spending a lot of money for her to sit her ass at home and clean people's teeth. I don't know. Speaking of spending a lot of money and sitting at home, I'm going to be sitting at home next year when Wrestlemania hits Las Vegas, Nevada, as these ticket prices have come out. And, I talked a couple weeks ago where TKO was like, we're going to make the most out of our ticket prices. We're going to price it like the UFC. Mark Shapiro was like, we're going to raise those prices. AKA, fuck the families. We're going to make as much money as we can. We don't care about how many people are in the arena. We care about that gate. And they've proven that over and over because they don't even give the attendance record anymore. It's the gate. Something that Dana White does. Always the gate. The gate's this. The gate's that. It's never how many people are at the show. And sadly, people's still going to go. But I wanted to break down some of these Mania ticket prices. If you were to sit in Section A on the floor, which is hard cam, or where you're on hard cam, you're going to spend $9,000 on your tickets. Can you imagine $9,000 to sit in the front row of a wrestling show? That is probably going to suck. $9,000. Now, I do believe this is 2-day prices. But $9,000 to sit in Section A. In Section B, $4,000. Section C, you're looking around $2,200. You can't sit in level 100 for less than $1,200. Some people's monthly rent price is the price to set for one show, with a max of $1,500 on those seats. This is without Ticketmaster fees or tax. That's insane. Level 200 between $1,200 and $1,300. $300 is even to sit in row in 300 in the 300s. You're still spending $1,200. That's the rent price of a home in some places. A 2-bedroom house is $1,200 rent. That's how much it costs for one show. And to sit in the 400s or higher is an $850 minimum. Who can afford to pay those prices? And I know people save up their entire year to go to WrestleMania. But at what point is too much enough? And the greed. You're making so much money. Like, you're getting people, and it's in Las Vegas, which makes it even more expensive. Think of hotel prices in Vegas during Mania. Think of Uber prices in Mania. Everything rises. If you had Mania in, and I know Vegas paid like $5 million to keep them in Vegas. But had it been in New Orleans, you would have had people walking around. You could have had people affording to go to other shows. I think you're going to see a lot of people come into town and hit up the Collective and WrestleCon and just leave. And if I was to go, I would not worry about going to see WWE. I would get a hotel, go to the indie shows, hit the con, and then I would be home by Sunday for WrestleMania Night 2 in my pajamas watching it at home, which is where I'm going to be for Night 1 and 2. So I think you're going to see a lot. I think you're going to see the number of attended drop for WrestleMania because of these prices. And who knows, maybe tickets won't sell. I haven't looked at an update since they went on sale, but somebody's going to buy them. Those scalpers are going to buy them and make them even higher. What I'm curious to see is if you're going to see a bigger set or smaller set this year, because we all know the more tickets they sell, the smaller that screen gets. They were in I think it was Newbury, Massachusetts a few weeks ago. They didn't even have a Jumbotron. That's how small it was. And that's great because they sold a lot of tickets and a lot of fans got to see John Cena for one of his last times. But at what price? At what price, guys? But that's all we got for this week. We have covered a lot of material. We talked PWI 500. We recapped my favorite parts of the weekend from Wrestlepalooza and All Out. We talked AEW Jazwares. We talked Mania tickets. We talked AEW tag titles. Thank you guys for joining in on the chat. Thank you, Talking Vols Network. Those guys have been some of our biggest supporters. Boogie over there. Check them out, Talking Vols Network. If you're a Tennessee sports fan, he always shows up and represents during the shows and always helps us out a lot. If you haven't already and you've made it to this point in the show, please like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. You don't know how much that helps us on this end. Helps the algorithm, helps us get found, helps us grow an audience. We are trying to get to 1,000 1,000 subscriptions by February. I'm putting that out there. I would like for my 38th birthday. Here's my 39th. Shit. It's going to be my 39th birthday. Damn, I'm getting old. For my 39th birthday, I want 1,000 subscribers. And to do that, I'm setting a small goal of 200 subscribers by Halloween. Now, we're not that far off. We're at 60. Now, I know it's not a lot. That's 140 subscribers in a month. If each one of you who stops in just hits the subscribe button, we can get there. I can get to 200. If all these people on Instagram that follow me, just hit that button. If you're guys, there's 2 people in the chat right now. If you're not subscribed, hit that button. Hit that like. Hit that share button. Let everybody know that we are out there and we are starting. Every Thursday, we're going to be here at 8 p.m. And you're going to get videos throughout the week. The quality is going to grow throughout. The more I get used to this, my goal is this weekend to hit an indie show and make a video for you guys. So all that's possible with you guys liking and subscribing the content, watching it, sharing it with your friends, everybody who, the more eyes we get, the more stuff I can do, the more we can grow, and hopefully sometime within the next year or so, be able to work with sponsors again. You guys know, if you followed the page in the past, we've had sponsors. We've worked with Death Wish Coffee. We've worked with Collar and Elbow. We've worked with comic book companies. We've represented conventions. Like, we can get there, but I need you guys' help. So like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we're live. Again, we will be back next week at 8 p.m. If you haven't yet, check out our Stephanie McMahon Hall of Fame video. But guys, thank you for your support, and we'll check you out next week.